MLP and theories, these two things go hand in hand and are one of the core aspects that made this fandom so fun and interesting. But sometimes these theories were so believable that people thought they were actually real. So today let's see 5 MLP theories that could have been true. From the good, the bad, and the ones that were actually true. Kinda. So let's begin. Let's begin with a theory that could have been true just because of the character in hand, and that was the possibility of Cozy Glow being a changeling. This theory debates that Cozy Glow is a rogue changeling who wants to rebuild the changeling hive and in the process destroy the main 6 and Starlight Glimmer for humiliating Queen Chrysalis. But first she needed to get close to them, and what a better way to do that than through the School of Friendship. This theory was good at the time that it came out, because it explained in a plausible way who Cozy Glow could have been, and it explained some things that Cozy Glow did that didn't make much sense. Like for example, why did Cozy Glow needed to be liked and idolized by other ponies constantly, or how she knew where to find the Cutie Mark Crusaders and why she wanted to sabotage their lives, and why she was so good at manipulating others. And for a while this was a theory that a lot of people believe. That's until of course season 9 premiered, where we discovered that Cozy Glow was an actual pony and not a changeling. Which just left us with more questions than answers, like why is Cozy Glow so evil despite being really young? Who were her parents? Where she was born? Questions that never got answers, and the only official information that we got back in the day and even nowadays is that she was an orphan and that she was born somewhere outside of Equestria. And that's all. We never got more information than that, although there were plans to continue the story of the Legion of Doom in the comics, where we could have gotten more information regarding Cozy Glow's backstory, but sadly that got cancelled by IDW. But sometimes that's how theories can go. They can be disproven in a few months or weeks, or just be completely wrong. But in the other hand, theories can stay until the very end, and sometimes it can change your perspective on how you see the show or a character. Just like. Now this theory initially sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory, but throughout the years this theory has gained some traction in some parts of the fandom. The theory goes like this: after the episode Too Many Pinkie Pies, multiple Pinkie Pie clones are still out there, which is actually true, but one of these clones is the Pinkie we see from the rest of the show, and throughout the show we see the growth of this clone. And while yes, it sounds crazy initially, there's some things that Pinkie does after season 3 that doesn't make any sense if we compare her to her previous seasons. Things like her irrational mannerisms, her more frequent psychotic moments, how she can't describe her sister Maud correctly to her friends, why she doesn't remember things that she should, like playing the organ, why she doesn't have the Pinkie sense anymore, and why she built a Pinkie cave, a place that makes no sense for someone like Pinkie to have. Because Pinkie establishes in season 1 and season 2 that she knows everything about every pony in Ponyville, yet here she is keeping an archive on even her friends' likes and dislikes. And there's a lot more things that this theory could explain, but of course this theory is not true, and maybe the reason why Pinkie acts more irrational and crazy in the later seasons was because of the writers wanting her to be a more comedic relief character. Maybe. Or maybe the Pinkie we originally knew is truly gone, replaced with a clone that in the beginning didn't know how to act, but that in time she became Pinkie Pie. Ah yes, Queen Chrysalis, one of the best MLP villains in G4, at least in my opinion, and one that has a lot of theories, like really I can make a whole video on just Chrysalis theories. But one that I actually remember believing back in the day is the Chrysalis is an Alicorn theory. Now before you judge me for believing this theory back in the day, 1. I was a kid, and 2. This theory was created after the season 3 premiered, so basically at the time we didn't know a lot about Chrysalis, with a lot of people thinking that because she had wings and a horn, she was an Alicorn. But not any Alicorn, no, but the old ruler of the Crystal Empire.
What?
The theory goes like this: a long time ago, before Cadence was the princess of the Crystal Empire, Chrysalis was the ruler. In her rule, crystal ponies and changelings lived together in harmony. The crystal ponies would generate love for the Crystal Heart and the changelings would protect the Crystal Empire. this establishing a symbiotic relationship between the races. But one day, a unicorn with a strange amulet came into the Crystal Empire. This unicorn was Sombra. He demanded the Crystal Heart, but Chrysalis would refuse, so a fight would ensue. But Chrysalis would actually lose, and at this point she decided to evacuate the Crystal Empire, but sadly the only ones who could actually escape were the Changelings. But Chrysalis had a secret plan, and that was to seek help from Celestia and Luna, which they agreed to help her. Celestia and Luna would defeat Sombra, but in the process the Crystal Empire would vanish. This devastated Chrysalis, and she would blame Celestia and Luna for what happened to her, with this creating the Chrysalis we see in the show. Okay, so this theory is not good. It's just like a really bad fanfic, and I'm surprised that people, and even me, believed this theory back in the day. So why is this theory here? Well, because some concepts in this theory could actually been true. For example, I could see how the Crystal Ponies and the Changelings would have lived together, or how Chrysalis would have been a different race of Alicorn. And this theory got more traction when Reflections came out, as in that story we saw a reformed version of Chrysalis, one where she didn't have holes and looked like, well, an alicorn. But of course now we know that she isn't one, which I'm glad for that, because I love Chrysalis as a villain and the Changelings as a species, so making them this weird race of alicorns would have been pretty lame. But if you think this theory is weird, which it is, well, the next one is just bizarre, but that weirdly holds a little bit of truth to it, and that one is... Now, I know that by the title this theory makes no sense, and I agree, but again, this theory is a really old one, and it came out at the time where we didn't know a lot about Applejack's parents. But let's begin with the theory. The theory goes that Applejack's parents weren't farmers, but rather sailors, with them selling the apples of sweet apple acres across Equestria, but one day they didn't make it back, with the only thing leaving Applejack and Big Mac being a cowboy hat, a yoke, and apple bloom. And that's the theory, a short and straightforward one that you probably heard a bunch of times, with the only difference being that in this theory, Applejack's parents don't have farming or apple cutie marks, but rather sailing ones. But why is this theory here? Well, because this theory was an actual real concept for Applejack's parents. In a post that Lauren Foss made in her DeviantArt talking about scrap concepts and ideas, she stated that originally the idea for Applejack's parents was going to be more as small secondary characters, kinda like Granny Smith. And their role in the show would have been just as background characters that every once in a while they would have an episode or two. Just like Granny Smith. But Lauren felt that that would have been too boring and redundant, so she decided to just kill off Applejack's parents. Still, there were discussions about the role of Applejack's parents if they were to come up in the show, and two ideas stand out, one that they were going to be actual sales ponies, and the second one where they would have been adventurers that died while exploring a temple, which I find pretty cool, but also quite confusing from the family dynamic we saw in the show. But it's funny to imagine that Applejack's parents, you know, one of the most beloved couples in the show, originally they could have been just like Scuralu's parents, which I'm glad it didn't happen because I just find the prideful farmers dynamic of the Apple family more endearing and interesting than the cool but shallow dynamic that we could have had originally. But there's one more theory, one that a lot of people believed back then, and one that was so convincing that people not only believed it, but considered to be canon. And that one is... Yep, you heard that right. This theory was at the time one of the most convincing theories that fans made back then, and can you blame us? This theory debates that Octavia Melody is Pinky's younger sister, and she left the rock farm to not only be near her sister, but to pursue a music career. This theory is short, straightforward, and is not true, but it doesn't matter. This theory is one that I hold close to my heart, because it was a fun idea, one that could have been true. I mean, Octavia does resemble Pinky's sisters, and it would have made sense from an aesthetic aspect. And let's not forget that this is one of the few fan theories that got used in fanfics back in the day, with the most famous one being Silent Ponyville 4. But, real or not, these theories were fun at the time and even nowadays. As a whole, theories are fun and is something that I really miss nowadays. Now, I'm not saying that there's not good MLP theories nowadays, because there are, but maybe this is just me, but I feel like nowadays theories are not as crazy or creative as they used to be. But before I go, I actually asked you guys about which was the craziest MLP theories you guys have heard, so let's see what you guys replied.
my goodness!
You know what? Maybe it's for the best that we don't have crazy MLP theories anymore. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, bye. No, I'm done. Bye. This was a mistake. But those were the 5 MLP theories that could have been true. Of course, there's more theories out there that could have been true, but I chose these ones because I thought that they were the most interesting ones. But what do you guys think? Is there any other theories out there that could have been true? And is there any other theory you believed back in the day? Leave it down in the comments. And remember to like the video if you enjoyed it and consider subscribing for more MLP videos like this. And remember to take care guys, and I'll see you in the next video.